Okay, so we're going to talk about how the parts change sizes the more parts you get. So this one is just one hole, so we're cutting it out. We're cutting it out. And we're going to do one part over one part, and we call this a hole. One part over one part, and we call it a hole. So go ahead and write that on yours. Okay, now we're going to cut out the orange circle that's in halves. And we're going to put that on top of the hole. And on one side, we're going to write 1/2, because one of them is a half, right? And we're going to put half as the name. This is a half and this is a half. That's two ways to write half. That's two ways to write half. Okay, now we're cutting out the pink one, cut into 3 parts. And then we are writing, one part is 1/3, and another way to say that in a word is third. One part is 1/3, 1/3 is one part, and another way to write that is third. We're cutting out the blue one that's in 4s. Okay, waterfall, waterfall. Now, when we have one of these parts, it's called a 1/4. We call it a fourth. There's another way, another name for a quarter, or fourth. I just said it. Quarter. Just like a quarter in a coin is a quarter of a dollar. It's 1/4 of a dollar. You can say this is 1/4 of the circle. This is 1/4 of the circle. This is 1/4. You're going to write all 3 of those. It's another way to say it. It's another way to say it. So now I'm going to bring you something we're going to write on. You're just going to cut around this square right here. Okay? The trash. And now you have your 4 circles. And what we're going to write on here in a minute. Okay? And the question is, what do you notice about the number and size of the shares? A share is one piece of the circle, one part. That's what a share is called. So what do we notice about each part on the shape? So go back and look at your hole. It's one piece. Is the piece big or small? Real big, okay? Then look next to it. At the half. Okay? Did it get bigger or smaller, one part?
Smaller.
Smaller. Then go to the 1/3. Did it get bigger or smaller than the half?
Smaller.
Smaller. And then look at the 4th. What happened to the part? Smaller. So even though this has 4 parts, so it has more parts in my hole, because the hole only has one part. Every time you add another part to a fraction or to a shape, you get a smaller part. So, if I had a big old pizza and I ate it by myself, I'd get a lot, right? But if I had to share it with some friends and there were 4 of us, we would only get 1/4 of that, a lot less. So I might still be hungry if I only got to eat this much and not this much. Okay? So that's one thing you've got to remember in 2nd grade and when you get to 3rd grade is the more parts a shape has, the more fraction parts there are, then the smaller the parts get. The more people that have to share, the smaller the pieces get. So the question was, so put the yellow and then the orange on top and then the pink, the third, and then the quarter on the very top. I'm going to staple those here in a minute on a piece of construction paper. So put them on like that. But right now it says, what do you notice about the number and size of the shares? I notice, oops, that's not what I meant it to do. Okay, I notice,
So do we copy it?
yeah, that when there is more parts, comma, the parts get, which one, smaller or bigger?
Smaller.
We just learned it. The more pieces there are, the smaller or bigger they get. Smaller. Remember, the more pieces, the smaller the pieces. So the more parts there are, the smaller the parts get. So I notice that when there's more parts, the parts get smaller. Smaller. More parts, smaller. The least amount of parts, bigger. The more people that have to share the pizza, the littler my piece of pizza is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to give you a piece of green construction paper. And you're going to put yours on the bottom. This part of the bottom, I'm going to come around and staple your circles. So do you glue your circles? No, because I want you to be able to flip and see. Because if you glued them all down, you wouldn't be able to lift them up. But then you'll be able to look. See that the whole is bigger, then the half gets smaller, then the third gets even smaller, and the fourth gets even smaller than that. Okay, and then you're going to take these home. You can show your parents what you know about fractions, that you know that you have wholes, halves, thirds, fourths, and you notice that when there's more parts, the smaller they get. So that's just a reminder for you.
Can we add 8